Hello, and welcome back to another season of Coug Zone. I am your host, Rachel Turcotte.
And I'm your co-host, Addison Wong. We have a ton of WSU sports to cover today. Tennis has started the year on fire, the track and field team is in full swing, and both basketball teams remain rocky.
Plus, a recap of changes coming to Cougar football and WSU students react to big NFL news. To wrap things up, a Cougar outlook of sports to come. All that and so much more,
Right here, only on Coug Zone.
The WSU women's basketball team hoped to enter the new year by extending their winning streak to 5 games. The Cougs were granted home court advantage against Santa Clara on January 2nd for their first game of 2025. The Cougs would go on to have their worst shooting game of the year and fall 68-62 to the Broncos. The usually steady duo of Eleanor Avila and Tara Wallach combined for just 23 points and went a dreadful 9 of 28 from the field. As a team, the Cougs shot 34% from the field and 16% from 3 on 30 attempts. Despite the awful shooting night, sophomore center Alex Colville gave the Cougs a bright spot off the bench. Colville had 15 points in just 16 minutes and made all 7 of her shot attempts.
After a night to forget in Beasley, WSU avenged themselves at home against Oregon State on January 4th. The Cougs knocked off the Beavs 66-52 in a much-needed bounce-back win. Tara Wallach was excellent stuffing the stat sheet with 13 points and 14 rebounds. Wallach's stellar paint protection was also a catalyst for shutting down the Beavers' offense. Eleanor Avila was also stellar, adding her own 19 points and 3 rebounds.
WSU would hit the road on January 9th for a bot with St. Mary's. The Cougs scored their 10th win of the year, knocking off the Gales 66-57. Wazoo somewhat struggled on offense, managing just 39% from the field. However, it was their rebounding that stole the show. The Cougs outboarded the Gales 42-26, 17 of which were offensive. So many second-chance opportunities masked the Cougs' poor efficiency. Sophomore guard Jenna Villa had 14 points the modern way. Villa made 3 of 6 three-pointers and went a perfect 5 for 5 from the charity stripe. Eleanor Avila was also unsurprisingly productive, adding 16 points and 2 steals.
The Cougs are back in Beasley for a game against the Gonzaga Bulldogs on January 11th. Despite a better shooting performance by Wazoo, the Bulldogs defeated the Cougs 69-61. Free throw shooting was the Achilles heel for WSU. The Cougs only got to the line 4 times and made just 1 of their 6 attempts. The lone free throw was made by Eleanor Avila, who once again carried the load on offense. Villa had 24 points with 3 assists and 0 turnovers, but her efforts weren't enough to offset the drastic rebounding discrepancy. Gonzaga grabbed 45 rebounds to Washington State's 22 in the close loss.
The Cougs were back on the road for a California road trip on January 16th. The Cougs started in San Francisco and they came out ready for blood against the Dons. WSU outscored their opponents 45-21 in the first half, a lead that was too much for San Francisco to overcome, as the Cougs cruised to a 74-58 victory. Tara Wallach made her presence felt with 16 points and 9 rebounds. She also added 2 steals and 2 blocks in an overwhelming defensive performance.
The Cougs had a quick breather before heading to Santa Clara on January 18th. Wazoo obliterated the Broncos 74-48, closing out a brief road trip with a statement win. It was Alex Colville who stole the show for the Cougs, racking up 21 points on efficient shooting splits in only 20 minutes of play.
The Cougs returned home to take on the Portland Pilots on January 23rd, a game in which WSU's shooting woes returned. The Cougs shot just 40.7% from the field and 28% from three and fell to the Pilots 83-65. The Cougars starting five combined for 31 points and made only 11 of their 32 shots. WSU's bench was more productive, including redshirt freshman center Candace Kipidu, who logged 12 points and 6 rebounds in only 16 minutes.
The Cougs licked their wounds and hit the road to play LMU on January 25th. WSU was defeated 79-76 in a nail-biter that ended on some clutch free throws from the Lions. Despite winning the rebounding and efficiency battle, WSU couldn't overcome a superstar performance from LMU guard Nadia Evans. Evans scorched the Cougs for 37 points and 4 assists while making a staggering 11 free throws. Candace Caputo was great off the bench for the Cougs yet again. Caputo had 13 points and 3 rebounds in 21 minutes in the loss.
WSU stayed on the road to face the Beavs in Corvallis on January 27th. The Cougs earned a much-needed win, besting the Beavs 65-57 in an impressive defensive showcase. The Cougs held OSU to 32.8% from the field while racking up 12 blocks. Tara Wallach added to her resume as a defensive anchor with 3 blocks and 2 steals. Wallach added 12 points, all of which came from the long ball, as she made all 4 of her 3-point attempts. Eleanor Avila and Estera Tuhina were the only other Cougs with double-digit totals, scoring 11 and 10 points respectively.
After the important road win, the Cougs returned home hosting Pacific on January 30th. The Cougs outlasted the Tigers in an 82-70 victory. The Cougs looked excellent, shooting an impressive 50% from the field and 40% from 3. Eleanor Avila was electric, putting up 23 points while adding 2 steals on the defensive end. Tara Wallach was also great, adding 15 points and 10 rebounds.
The Cougs remained at home to host San Diego on February 1st. WSU secured their 3rd straight win, beating the Toreros 67-60. San Diego couldn't shoot all night, making 2 of their 15 3-point attempts. The Cougs weren't exactly shooting the lights out either, but it was their free throws that put them on top. WSU made 17 of their 18 free throws, including a perfect 9 of 9 in the first half. Tara Wallach was great with 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Wallach also kept up the trend by making all 7 of her free throw attempts.
Men's basketball kicked off the new year with a convincing win over San Francisco on January 4th. The Cougs won 91-82, led by an impressive performance by sophomore forward Lawan Watts. Watts put up 24 points and 12 rebounds, shooting 11 of 13 from the free throw line in 39 minutes. Despite an efficient 34 points from San Francisco's Malik Thomas, the Dons couldn't overcome Wazoo's excellent rim pressure and offensive rebounding. WSU senior forward Ethan Price and Dane Erickstrup had 20 and 18 points respectively, solidifying the Cougs' size advantage in the paint.
After a convincing win at home, Wazoo would remain in Beasley Coliseum on January 9th to host the University of the Pacific. Coming into the game as 16-point favorites, WSU fully expected a victorious ending to their homestand. The Cougs were instead given a 95-94 overtime defeat to a team that had lost each of their last 9 games. Pacific guard Lamar Washington gave Wazoo fits all game, dropping a remarkable 40 points and 6 assists, adding an overtime game-winning 3 for good measure. Ethan Price was the sole bright spot for the Cougs despite a humiliating defeat. Price had 28 points and 8 rebounds, tacking on 6 threes.
The Cougs had a brief breather before heading to Spokane to face 18th-ranked Gonzaga on January 11th. The Cougs hoped for redemption but were met instead with an 88-75 loss at the hands of a perennial powerhouse. Hoping to beat the Bulldogs for the first time since 2010, the Cougs started the first half down just 3 points. However, it was an ugly second half in which the Cougs were outscored 48-38 and dropped in efficiency across the board. Nate Calmes looked great for Wazoo, finishing with 20 points, 8 assists, and 4 steals on stellar shooting splits. Lawan Watts added a productive 17 points and 6 assists. But the rest of the Cougs roster didn't have the firepower to overcome a Gonzaga team loaded with depth.
Coming off 2 consecutive losses, the Cougs made it down to sunny San Diego on January 16th to play the Toreros. WSU bested San Diego in a low-scoring slugfest, 65-61. Nate Calmes was once again excellent, serving as the offensive catalyst for a Cougar team with only 2 scoring players in the double digits. Despite a grisly 6 turnovers, Calmes stole the show with 27 points, also adding 4 assists and rebounds. The Cougs held San Diego to a pitiful true shooting percentage of just over 44%, making just 6 of their 21 three-point attempts.
Wazoo returned to Beasley on January 18th to host the Portland Pilots. The Cougs flexed their offensive muscles, winning in a 92-70 blowout in front of the Cougar faithful. Nate Calmes continued his streak of superb play, leading the Cougs with 23 points while tacking on 8 assists. 4 other Cougs finished with double-digit point totals, including redshirt sophomore forward Ndie Okafor. Okafor had 12 points while making 5 of 6 shots from the field and adding an impressive 5 offensive rebounds in just 19 minutes. The Cougs held the Pilots to just under 40% field goal shooting and forced 17 turnovers.
After stringing together 2 statement wins, WSU was back on the road to play Santa Clara on January 23rd. What followed was a whooping at the hands of the Broncos as the Cougs fell 93-65. The Cougs gave up 19 second chance points and a staggering 28 points off turnovers in a sloppy loss. Despite the ugly defeat, Lawan Watts was fantastic, logging a 20-point triple-double and shooting 70% from the field. Watts recorded only the 2nd triple-double in program history.
The Cougs followed up an embarrassing loss with another heartbreaker at home against St. Mary's on January 25th. WSU fell 80-75 to the Gales. Despite great productions from the starting lineup, the Cougs' lack of depth haunted them. Wazoo logged only 5 points off the bench in a combined 39 minutes. Ethan Price was great, racking up 20 points and a block while logging a career-high 36 minutes. However, his efforts were in vain.
After 2 straight losses, the Cougs looked to get back on track on the road against Pacific on January 30th. In a tale all too familiar for WSU, they fell in a nail-biter 70-68 to the Tigers. Pacific took the lead with just 5 seconds remaining, and Wazoo couldn't answer, dropping their 3rd straight. The Cougs lost the rebound battle, allowing the Tigers 16 offensive rebounds and 8 second chance points. Dane Erikstrup led the Cougs in scoring with 17 points.
The Cougs stayed in California to play San Francisco on February 1st. The Dons rolled over WSU 75-51, dropping the Cougs to 15-9 on the season. With a true shooting percentage under 46%, 18 turnovers and only 7 offensive rebounds to San Francisco's 14. The Cougs were outmatched in every aspect. Ethan Price and Dane Erikstrup led the squad with 12 points respectively. The Cougs left the Golden State with a lot of questions about the future of this season.
WSU football has seen a ton of changes after an up-and-down 2024 season. First and most noticeable was the departure of head coach Jake Dickert. Dickert joined Wake Forest, where he will have more resources and the title of a head coach on a Power 4 program. Dickert was 23-20 in his tenure at WSU. Quarterback John Mateer and offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle have also moved on. Mateer, after a record-breaking season leading the country in touchdowns, has transferred to Oklahoma, joining Arbuckle. Together, they will work to achieve similar success on a larger stage.
The Cougs completed their coaching staff revamp by parting ways with Jeff Schmedding and elevating Jesse Bobbitt to defensive coordinator. Bobbitt brings experience and success from his time at South Dakota State, where he led the team to multiple FCS championships. With these significant changes, the Cougs have embarked on a strategic reset of the program. While some key players remain, the landscape of Cougar football has been transformed. The 2025 season promises to be exciting for WSU fans, and only time will reveal how these changes will impact the team's performance on the field.
The Crimson girls took a trip to Florida to compete in the 2025 UDA Nationals on January 17th, 18th, and 19th. The team brought 3 routines to Nationals: hip-hop, jazz, and a game day routine with WSU cheer and butch. Although it was only their second year of hip-hop since 2009, the Cougs were ready to take the floor and prove themselves in the hip-hop category. After coming in 8th place in the semifinals, the Crimson Girl dance team increased their score by half a point, which was just enough to put them to 7th in the nation for D1A.
The NFL world was shaken up by former Seattle Seahawks head coach and Super Bowl champion Pete Carroll signing as the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. We sent our WSN correspondent James Wolfe to hear from WSU students their thoughts on the news.
Hello everybody, I'm James Wolfe from Coug Zone. We're here at the Cub today asking people what are their thoughts on the Pete Carroll signing.
Pete Carroll, I was disappointed when the Seahawks let him go last year. He did good work with them, and it seemed like he should have kept the job. So I'm happy he's got one last chance to prove himself before it's time for him to retire.
I was actually pretty shocked. I was actually surprised when he got signed.
I think it's cool for them. I'm glad he's on the Seahawks anymore, but happy for the guy.
I'm not a huge Seahawks fan, so it's good to keep Pete Carroll away from the Seahawks. I think it's great because I'm a Niner fan, so it's good to see him.
Like the Pete Carroll signing, good for the Raiders, good culture change I think for him. A lot of experience, he's won a lot. Marshawn went there, hearing that some other old Seahawks players could go there too, I think that would be good for him. So I wish them the best for him, the Raiders, hope they win.
Happy for him. He's an old guy. I'm hoping that he just goes out there and gets some wins, brings the Raiders back to the playoffs maybe.
Pete Carroll signing to the Raiders sucks.
I thought he was old. I thought he was retired. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of shocking. I do see a move, though. Tyler Lockett's in free agency. I might see Wilson and Lockett back to I think they're going to go back with the Raiders, and I think they're going to reunite.
That would be awesome.
I know. I think it's, I don't know. It's crazy. But I think it's a high of a chance. This is in my head.
I mean, I thought Pete was done after he got canned from Seattle, but I think it's interesting. My boy Gardner Minshew's out there, so looking forward to that.
Pete Carroll, he's back in the NFL. I'm really excited to see him bring the Seahawks culture to the Raiders. I'm also really hoping for Tyler Lockett to also join the mirror of the Raiders, see the combo. And also Russell Wilson, if he can be there too, I mean, come on, it'd be great.
Good for him, but it kind of sucks because I wish he retired a Seahawks coach.
Thank you, James.
On January 17th, the Cougs faced Utah Tech at the Gibb Pool in a 165-39 win, sweeping all 11 events and setting 3 Gibb Pool records. The Cougs improved their records in dual meets to 6-0, the best start since the 2008 to 2009 season. WSU set pool records in the 400 medley relay, 200 breast, and 200 free relay. Emily Lundgren set a pool record in the 200 breast, and the 200 free relay team with Emma Wright, Addison Lewis, Skylar Burgo, and Darcy Revitt closed out the meet with yet another Gibb Pool record.
On January 21st, WSU took 6 pool records while taking 13 of the 14 events in a 205-57 win over the Idaho Vandals, improving their record to 7-0 for the first time in program history. The Cougs set pool records in the 400 medley relay and 200 free relay, while junior All-American Emily Lundgren broke the 100 breast and 200 IM along with freshman Darcy Revitt, taking records in the 100 free. The Cougs opened the meet with a pool record in the 400 medley relay by Anna Rockholtz, Emily Lundgren, Dory Hathazi, and Emma Wright.
On February 1st, WSU closed out an amazing year, going 8-0 after beating the Idaho Vandals in Moscow 162-100. The Cougs tied the program record with 8 wins, as well as posting the first undefeated season in program history. The Cougs won 11 of the 14 events in Moscow and broke 7 pool records at the U of I Swim Center, with freshman Darcy Revitt breaking the 50 free and 100 free, junior Anna Rockholtz breaking the 50 back, junior Emily Lundgren breaking the 100 fly and 100 IM.
Women's tennis is off to a hot start this season after closing out January with a 6-1 record. The Cougs are fresh off a 4-3 win against BYU on January 31st, led by number 1 and 2 singles players Eva Alvarez-Sandi and Maxine Murphy. Earlier this month, Murphy was named WCC Singles Player of the Week for her 3 wins against Idaho, Eastern Washington, and Michigan State.
On January 11th, Murphy and Alvarez-Sandi earned Doubles of the Week, honors for their win in WSU's sweep against UC Davis. Both players are currently undefeated in their singles matches. The team's sole loss was to 5-1 Nebraska on January 26th, dropping the match 5-2. The Cougs were picked 3rd in the WCC preseason poll.
The Cougar track and field squad has had a busy month of January. In Spokane on January 17th, the Cougs cracked the podium 11 times. Highlights include sophomore Tatum Moku setting a school pole vault record and senior Michaela DeMello setting a Brazilian record in the 60-meter hurdles. Her time of 8.02 seconds is 4th best in the world and the best in the NCAA this season. The next week, on January 24th and 25th, the Cougars competed at Idaho in the McCluskey Memorial Open. There, Wazoo captured 3 wins and set 13 personal bests. The Cougars then competed in 3 tournaments the next weekend. On January 31st, the Cougs competed in the New Mexico Team Open, where junior Mason Lawyer set the WC record in the 200-meter dash with a mark of 20.78 seconds.
The same day, the Cougars also competed at the University of Washington Invitational. In Seattle, the Cougs won 4 events, including 2 on the track, the men's high jump and the men's triple jump. Finally, on February 1st, the Cougs raced at the Inland Northwest Invitational in Spokane. Senior Ashley Hollenbeck-Willems won the women's 60-meter dash, and freshman Keenan Kuntz won the same event for the men.
Before we sign off on this episode of Coug Zone, let's send it over to our WSN correspondent, Becky Overlander, for an outlook on Cougar sports to come.
Thank you, Rachel and Addison. We have an exciting stretch of games to get us through this winter season. Get cozy because here they come. Starting up with men's basketball, your Washington State Cougars will take on Gonzaga on February 19th at 6 p.m. in Beasley Coliseum. The last time the pair met, the Cougs lost by 13. You can check that game out on ESPN2 or Crimson Now in Beasley for this important WCC match. The Cougs will stay in Pullman to finish out the month, first playing Santa Clara at 3 p.m. on the 22nd. Then, the Cougs will take on San Diego for senior night on the 27th at 6:30 p.m. With 3 seniors on the team, make sure you come and thank them for such a great season. Moving on to women's basketball, WSU has 3 more games to end the regular season. Feel the love on Fan Appreciation Night on the 20th when your Cougs play the University of San Francisco at 6 p.m. In their last home game of the season, the Cougs will tip off at 11 a.m. Saturday the 22nd against St. Mary's. That game is on senior night. Come support your Cougs. To end the season on the 27th in California, your Cougs will play their last game versus Pepperdine at 1 p.m. You can watch that game on ESPN+. On to swimming, your undefeated Cougars are headed to the Mountain West Conference Championships held in Houston, Texas. The tournament will last from February 19th till the 22nd. Be sure to watch next episode for updates on that. Let's check in on golf. Both teams will be seeing warmer weather than we are seeing in Pullman. The men will start a 3-day match in La Quinta, California on the 17th. Following them, the women's team will start their 2-day match at the Westbrook Invitational on the 23rd in Peoria, Arizona. We hope that both teams enjoy the weather, great greens, and good golf. It is time to knock it out of the park with baseball. The Cougs have their first series of the season in Fayetteville, Arkansas, for a matchup with the Razorbacks starting on the 14th. Then, on the 21st, the Cougs will take on the Kleberg Bank Collegiate Classic with the first game at noon versus Michigan State. UCLA is next up for the Cougs on the 22nd for another noon showdown. And finally, the Cougs face Texas A&M on the 23rd and 24th at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. respectively. All of those games will be streamed live on Flow College. The Cougs will be playing Iowa starting on February 27th. That 4-game series wraps up March 2nd. The Cougar tennis has had an amazing season. Let's see what's on the docket for them. The Cougs are in the Lone Star State for 2 days to wrap up February. First, the team will be in Waco, Texas, playing Baylor on the 21st at 10 a.m. Then the Cougs will take on TCU in Fort Worth on the 22nd at 11 a.m. Your Cougs who run, jump, and throw have another indoor track and field event. On February 21st and 22nd, the Cougs are in Spokane for an MPSF indoor meet. The event acts as the second to last event before the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships. Good luck, Cougs! Those are all your games for the rest of the month for your Cougar Sports Outlook. I'm Becky, wishing the best of luck to our teams. Now, sending it back to the desk with Rachel and Addison.
Thanks, Becky, and thank you for watching. Want more WSN content? Follow us on all of our social media at Wazoo Sports Network on Instagram and TikTok, and at Wazoo Sportsnet on X.
Also, make sure to like and subscribe to Cable 8 Productions on YouTube for more amazing content, like an upcoming episode of Wazoo Recap and all the other great Cable 8 content.
And our merch store is live. Click the link in our Instagram bio to see all the WSN swag available for purchase. Once again, I am Rachel Turcotte.
And I am Addison Wong. It was our delight to be your host today, and we'll catch you next time, right here